One of India's most divisive politicians. His involvement in the 2002 Gujarat riots has been especially controversial. One critic is Anish Kapoor, the Indian artist. I went to his London studios today to ask him what's so wrong with the soon-to-be Prime Minister Modi.
Well, India's dreamed itself a dream with a mass murderer as its main character. And I think there's something wrong with that. So, who am I to gainsay supposedly democratic politics? But I think we have to watch and see what happens next. The story isn't great.
When you say mass murderer, what do you mean?
I mean a mass murderer. I mean there's an ongoing trial. Modi claims to have a so-called clean chit. He does not. The trial's ongoing. Huge intimidation of witnesses, etc. I mean, that's well documented. I'm not making it up. Modi has a certain authoritarian ability. Is that what we need? India, I grew up in Gandhi's India, you know, Nehru's India, Kabir's India, Ramakrishna's India. The ones that spoke of a kind of inclusive, gentle, non-violent approach to all kinds of issues. Here we are on the edge of a sectarian, partisan, violent approach, which is completely different.
But to call him a mass murderer when he actually hasn't been charged is far-fetched, don't you?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I feel this is the way it is. I'm not alone, by the way. You know, there are many who've said it before me.
Let's have a look at his economic policy, because he did run his campaign on business and development, and really that shows that that's what the Indian people want: aspiration of jobs, a better economy, a stronger economy, and his record in Gujarat proves that. I mean, it's had a 10% growth, the rest of the country has had a 5% growth.
If so-called growth is at the cost of Muslims, at the cost of the poor, at the cost of women, at the cost of child undernourishment. You know, 50% of Indian children are undernourished on a daily basis, etc. If that's the cost of 10% growth, well then I don't want it.
Okay, Swapan, you've just heard what Anish Kapoor has had to say. Do you think that India's new Prime Minister has blood on his hands?
Well, I'm infuriated by what I heard Anish Kapoor say, who I have a great respect as an artist. But as an artist who tries to dabble in politics, I think he gets it all wrong. Firstly, the use of the term mass murderer, to me, appears like an indictment from a kangaroo court. There's no ongoing trial. Nobody has accused Mr. Modi.
Well,
there
that's
is
not true. Human Rights Watch has. Human Rights Watch released a report saying that Modi's administration was complicit.
There might be a human rights report, but in India, we take our judiciary far more seriously.
I think what Anish was referring to is Zia Jaffrey's trial. This is the wife of the Congress MP, Jaffrey, who was killed in the riots. And what happened to Jaffrey, of course, lies at the centre of the charges against Modi in 2002. Jaffrey was in the Gulberg colony in Ahmedabad. He was calling for help. He was calling the police. He was an MP, so a previous ex-MP, so he's very well connected. He was calling civil servants, police chiefs, and no one was coming to help him. Now, the report done by the SIT for the Supreme Court, which cleared Modi of this, which is a controversial report, nonetheless it is the report submitted to the Supreme Court and commissioned by the Supreme Court, says that the police were in camera with him the whole day, and it's very, very difficult to believe that he was not told that this man was calling. And his wife actually charges that he called Modi and that Modi laughed at him and expressed surprise that he was still alive.
Swapan, how do you respond to that?
Well, firstly, I respond to it in the way that there's been a full-fledged investigation done on it. There's been nothing found to incriminate Mr. Modi. The attempt was to have Mr. Modi charged as a part of a conspiracy to kill him. It did not stand judicial scrutiny. To my mind, therefore, calling him a mass murderer on the strength of one allegation is offensive.
You reject these comments, but what about Mr. Modi's remarks about how he felt about Muslims being killed? He compared it to a puppy being run over.
It was a colloquialism. It was a colloquialism.
It was a colloquialism to compare Muslims being run over like a puppy.
It was a colloquialism which was badly translated, and the person who interviewed Mr. Modi from Reuters wrote that she found nothing offensive about it and it had been misconstrued. Do
you buy that?
I think one could buy it if it was a unique instance of Modi being mistranslated or something. But the reality is, and Swapan knows this to be true, that Mr. Modi has not apologised for the riots. He said that it's not for him to apologise if he was guilty of mass murder, then he should be put on trial and hung. But he's made a whole variety of similar sort of statements. He told the New York Times, for example, what does it matter? It's all in the past. It's the future we should look to. Now, whether we like it or not, it is the future we now have to deal with. He is in power. He has been voted in by a very, very large number of Indians. And I think the hope is that he's left that Hindu nationalism behind. That's certainly the hope that many people have.
Swapam, today Mr. Modi said he would unite all Indians. Given he's so divisive, do you think he can do that?
Well, he's not divisive. Certain people have painted him to be divisive. He has always maintained this campaign as economic development for all Indians. Just because he does not mention particular sectarian appeals, he does not divide Indians into Hindus, Muslims and others, that's why you call him divisive. I would say he's a great unifier because he's trying to make a composite citizenship. And development, at the end of the day, if you get development, if you get progress, if you get growth, it's not merely for Hindus or a particular community. It's for everybody. It's for all castes and communities.
Mr. Dasgupta, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you both for joining us here on Newsnight. Here, there's